What's up, fellas? This week we're back with bets and predictions on UFC Singapore. Max Holloway going against Chan Sung Jung, or otherwise known as the Korean Zombie. And to get us started with this card, we have Sung Woo Choi going against Jarno Aarons. Neither of these fighters have very good records in general, especially in the UFC. Choi is 3-5 in the UFC, and Jarno is 0-1. And I do believe Choi would be cut if he was not putting on exciting fights, and if the UFC was not headed back to Singapore, or his nationality being from South Korea. I do believe Choi has a couple of holes in this game. The first massive one is that he does not have any striking defense, and he tends to block punches with his face. In his past two fights, he's been knocked down twice in both. I don't think his chin is the worst thing in the world, and he does have really good recovery, but it's definitely concerning. However, in this matchup, I'm not all that concerned with his chin, because Jarno does not have the best power. Like 3 knockouts in his career, for being primarily a striker, is a little suspect here. And then the other hole in Choi's game is grappling. We saw his first 2 fights in the UFC where he fought Movsar Evloev and Gavin Tucker, and he got taken down 5 times in both of those fights and just got destroyed on the ground. Not submitted though, which was good to see against such high-level competition. And then Jarno is nowhere near any of those guys when it comes to wrestling, and he's not a grappler. We have seen him got a couple submissions off his back, and he does appear to be dangerous. So it probably wouldn't be the smartest thing in the world for Choi to take him down here. Although I do think Choi could potentially get takedowns if he wants them. I just don't think it's a smart move. And then in the striking, I do believe Choi has a pretty distinct power advantage, having 4 knockdowns in the UFC and 6 knockout wins in his career, versus Jarno, who has just 3 wins in his career and just kind of look like he's point fighting out there a bit. Also like the speed of Choi, and I do believe he will be much faster than Jarno. I expect Choi to be walking forward for this fight, just kind of chasing Jarno around, and I think that will look good in the judges' eyes, and he'll definitely be winning the minutes. I'm going back and forth on whether Choi wins this fight by knockout or decision, but I kind of just don't see it happening, like Choi finding Jarno, because Jarno's just kind of running away. But the way he's been fighting recently, he's just been getting in guys' faces and throwing haymakers, so definitely on the table. So we're going to take a look at the odds here, and we see Choi as a minus 162 favorite, and Jarno as the plus 130 dog. I like this line for Choi, and I honestly expected it to be a bit wider, so I'm going to have 1 unit on Choi's money line at minus 162. And then for the props on this fight, the fight doesn't go to decision. It's sitting at minus 150. That just doesn't stick out to me. And then for the props, Choi by KO plus 165, and the decision prop at plus 275. Decision props on the table, but I'm not a fan of it. And the KO prop's just way too chalky. And then on the Jarno side, Jarno by decision is probably his win condition, or maybe a sub, but I don't see it, and I'm not betting that. Moving on to our next fight of the weight, we have Na Leong going against JJ Aldrich. And for this fight, Na Leong is moving up to women's flyweight, which I think is debatably good or bad for her. And how Leong fights, she's the biggest killer-be-killed fighter we have ever seen in the octagon. 0-2 in the UFC, coming off 2 brutal KO losses, but I still believe in her. For this fight, she is going to be the bigger fighter, saying 5'9" compared to Aldrich, who is 5'5", which is a good thing that she's up at flyweight and still bigger. Still has that size advantage. And as for a breakdown on how this fight goes out, Aldrich should take her down and just be better everywhere. As long as she takes her time, it doesn't get caught in something. This is her fight to lose all day. But it does feel like the UFC is giving Liang a winnable matcher here in Singapore, since Aldrich has never finished anyone in 7 UFC wins, and it's been finished twice, once by KO and once by sub. I don't see Na Liang getting starched here right off the bat, and I believe she will have a chance to work and potentially find a finish, but she's just not UFC caliber or on the level of Aldrich. Especially when we look at the line and we see that she's a minus 535 favorite. So this is a dog or pass fight for me. The time props feel like a trap to me. You see the under 2.5 sitting at minus 200. I like that a lot, and I've been back and forth on whether or not to parlay it, but I think I will use it as a parlay piece on this card. It feels too good to be true though, but I don't know. I'm going to bet it in a parlay. For a third fight of the night, we have Yusaku Kinoshita going against Billy Goff. Both of these guys are Contender Series alum, and Billy Goff's making his UFC debut here. I do expect this to be a striking fight that is pretty exciting, but would not be surprised if we saw some grappling mixed in. I do believe either fighter can mix in grappling, but I do believe Kinoshita is the more likely side to see the grappling from, and I do believe he's a much more imposing and bigger figure. Kinoshita is standing 6 foot tall with a 71.5 inch reach compared to Goff, who's just 5'10", and with a 72-inch reach at welterweight, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but Yusaku's a massive welterweight. As for the power goes, I probably do believe Kinoshita has more raw power, but Billy Goff does have a little bit better boxing and finds the chin a bit more. What is concerning here, though, is that Kinoshita's been knocked down before. He's been knocked out bad. Goff has been knocked out pretty bad, I saw, and got knocked down on the Contender Series, so that's not good to see. As for a pick, I'm going with Kinoshita. I'm not all that confident, but my gut is just telling me that. I think he's a little bit more well-rounded here and more durable, and that's why I'm picking him. He's 23 years old, so I expect him to be making improvements, and I expect to see the best version of Yanato Kinoshita in this matchup. We look at the odds, and we see Yanato Kinoshita as a minus 135 favorite, and Goff coming in at plus 114. That's right where I expected it. We look at the props, and we see the KO props at plus 200 for Goff and plus 150 for Kinoshita. Those are both pretty chalky. The sub line for Kinoshita is sitting at plus 600. I do believe that's on the table, but it's not juicy enough for me in this matchup. And then for the fight, do not go to decision. It's sitting at minus 400. I do favor this fight to go over, but yeah, I don't know. We see the over 1.5 rounds sitting at plus 100. I think I'm going to put a half unit on that. I just see some grappling in my mind when I envision this fight. I don't know why, but that's what I see. Very well be proved wrong. That's what I'm going with, a half unit here. But that's what I'm going, over 1.5 units. And then another interesting line is, if you wanted to cover, is the fight to end by round 1 KO is sitting at plus 130. That's an interesting bet that I was debating, but I think I'm going with the over here. For our next fight of the night, we have Kenan Song going against Rolando Bedoya. This fight is a pure striker versus striker matchup, and I have a strong and confident opinion on this fight, so I'm just going to say it. I believe Chaos Williams is much better than Kenan Song, and I believe Rolando Bedoya won that fight against Chaos Williams. I see Rolando as a fast enough fighter to push the pace here on Kenan Song, and I believe he will win a decision. I believe he's just too fast for Kenan. He has much better cardio, and he's also more durable. We've seen Kenan knocked out 4 times in his career, which isn't a good thing. I'm confident in Bedoya as my pick. I'm not sure if he's going to win a clear decision or potentially get a late knockout, but we saw Kenan almost go to decision against Ian Gary. So I believe Bedoya is not going to finish him here, so the pick is going to be Bedoya by decision. We're looking at the odds, and we see Rolando Bedoya as a minus 325 favorite, and the prop sitting at plus 185 for KO and plus 165 for decision. I was hoping this was a sneakier play this week, and the line would be much closer, but it's not. I looked at the props, and a prop that does stand out to me and what I'm going to bet is Bedoya by round 3 or decision. It's sitting at plus 120. I like that a lot, and I'm going to have 1 unit on it. We move on to our next fight of the night, and here we have Chidi and Bang Bang Andrew Kuwani going against Michael Oleksiejczuk. I'm a big fan of both these fighters, and right off the bat, I believe this fight is going to be very violent and not to go past 1.5 rounds. On the feet, Chidi is much more dynamic using knees and kicks, while Michael is more of a pure boxer. So I do favor Chidi to be winning minutes and moments early in this fight. I also do favor the size of Chidi since he is 6'3", with an 80-inch reach compared to Michael Oleksiejczuk, who's 6 foot with a 74-inch reach. Where I don't favor Chidi is durability. He has been knocked out 4 times in his career and submitted 3 times. I also do believe he quits when things don't go his way in there at times, but he's looked good as of late. Except for he did fold against RoboCop in that second round after absolutely brutalizing dude. I thought that fight should have been stopped with that cut, but nonetheless, this is a new fight, new day. The thing that makes this fight so hard to pick is I truly believe if Michael Oleksiejczuk hits once on Chidi, this fight just going to be over. But I have to go with Chidi from a skill perspective. I think he's much more well-rounded, has a decent round game, can win a decision. I believe he has all the decision equity here, actually. And I think he'll be winning minutes because he's much more flashier than Michael Oleksiejczuk is. I do believe Chidi could potentially have problems with the pressure of Michael, so I can't be too confident on Chidi as a pick, but like I said, he's just more well-rounded. And then as for a bet, I believe Chidi has all of the decision equity here, so that's why I'm going to be betting on his decision-only line. Decision-only line sitting at minus 105 for Chidi, and I like that a lot. I'm going to have 1 unit on it. And then as for like a money line and prop standpoint on this fight, we see Michael sitting as the minus 122 favorite, and Chidi coming in at plus 102. I do think Chidi is the side here and would expect him a favorite, but I'm not going to bet it here. I'm not going to get too cute. We see props plus 165 Michael KO, plus 176 Chidi KO. The under 1.5 is sitting at minus 130, and then the fight doesn't start round 3 is sitting at minus 200. Those are both tempting, and I probably would parlay that, except they're a little risky to parlay. So I'm probably going to use the fight doesn't go to decision, sitting at minus 360, or the under 2.5 sitting at minus 280 as my parlay pieces. But for the most part, I'd stay away from this fight from a side perspective, and I'd look at the violence props. And I think that those are good looks. Next up, we got Toshiomi Kazama going against Garrett Armfield. Toshiomi Kazama is coming in here off the road to UFC Asia. And he actually lost to another fighter on this card, Rinya Nakamura. He just kind of just started throwing hammers for no reason and got brutally dropped and knocked out twice in 30 seconds. Crazy fight. Don't advise you to watch it because it's pretty bad. Probably find a better fight with a woman on Twitter. But here we have a different matchup against Garrett Armfield. I think this is a pretty interesting. And the more and more I dive into it, the less confident I feel. Originally, I thought Armfield would have a pretty big grappling advantage and was just going to out-wrestle and take to show me down, grind him out for a decision win here, and keep it pushing. But the more I look into Shimmy as a prospect, the guy's very dangerous. Has a good submission game. On the feet, he's very reckless, but he does have good power, good speed. He's very quick. Change it up with some kicks and punches. So I do actually favor him in the striking skills. And then as for how this fight will play out, I do believe Armfield will have mixed results taking him down. I think if he actually tries to push the pace and wrestle, he'll get the takedowns. Little concerned about getting submitted, but yeah, I don't know. Not all that confident. Armfield has been submitted twice, which is concerning. And in the striking affairs, I think both of these fighters could get hurt. I don't know. I'm really struggling to find a decision here, but I have to probably go that Armfield's going to have success wrestling, get a takedown here, and maybe even get a TKO and just kind of grind this guy out, but I'm not confident at all. I believe Toshiomi will be winning the minutes on the feet. He does have a path to victory with a submission here. Yeah. I'm not confident. This is a crapshoot, and I don't advise you to bet on this fight. Look at the odds. We see Toshiomi Kazama saying as a plus 136 dog. Armfield as a minus 162 favorite. And the fight doesn't go to decision, saying at minus 190. There isn't much there on those lines, much value at all, and I just advise you to stay away from this fight. Next up, we have another less appealing fight between Waldo Cortez Acosta and Lucas Brzeski. This is probably a super close and sloppy heavyweight fight that goes for 15 minutes, and I am a fan of Brzeski. I was impressed by the performance that he had against Budai, and I thought he won that fight very convincingly. And then in his last fight, he ran to Carl Williams. He just took him down. I believe he controlled him for 12 minutes or something crazy in that fight. Didn't get the finish, which was good to see. And I don't think he'll have that problem in this matchup against Waldo, who is pretty much strictly a boxer that just jabs people to death. We have seen Waldo have problems in the last fight against Rogerio de Lima with the leg kicks. And I believe Brzeski can throw them, but I don't believe he will have anywhere near the amount of success de Lima had. And hopefully Waldo's been actually training and has learned about that. But yeah, there is a path for victory for Brzeski to leg kick Waldo. For a pick, I probably have to go with Waldo since he has won 2 UFC fights in the past. But this fight is going to be very, very, very close, and advise you not to bet on it. We look at the lines and we see Waldo is a minus 220 favorite. Brzezinski is plus 180. That's tempting on Brzezinski at that price, but I'm just not betting this fight. From a side perspective, the overs are very intriguing as well, so I'm going to take a look at them. We see the fight to go to decision sitting at minus 125. I'm going to put a half unit on that. We look at some other lines. Over 1.5 sitting at minus 300. I think that's a pretty solid parlay piece. The fight starts round 3 sitting at minus 200. I think that's a much better value and a much better parlay piece than the over 1.5. So I'm going to use that as my parlay piece. The over 2.5 sitting at minus 150. But at that point, you should just go with the fight goes to decision. Back-to-back low-level heavyweight fights here is a little rough. But here we are with another one. Junior Tafa trying to go 2-0 as the Tafa family against Parker Porter. In Tafa's last fight, we saw him lose a decision to Mohammed Usman. And that's pretty discouraging as it goes for the future of Tafa and his MMA career. But I do believe he is probably making improvements. And in this matchup, Porter definitely will have a significant advantage on the ground. But he will have problems getting there. Tafa showed an 83% takedown defense in his last fight. But all it takes is one, and shortly after, Parker Porter will probably submit him or get straight to mount and TKO him, but hard to tell. Another thing that's concerning if you are on the Parker side is that Parker has been knocked out 4 times. Tafa very well could just come out here, starch him, make him look easy, and walk away like 30 seconds into the fight. But I have to go with Porter as a way better fighter than Usman here and pick him as my side. We look at the odds and we see Tafa as the minus 135 favorite. Porter as a plus 114 dog. Look at the props. Tafa KO plus 110 unplayable. The Porter finish prop is sitting at plus 225. I like that line. I'm going to put a half unit on it. Even though I probably shouldn't, and you shouldn't be betting this fight either, but I'm going to. We see the fight doesn't go to decision line, it's sitting at minus 360. That's pretty chalky, and I would advise you not to parlay it. I believe this fight here was actually slated to headline a UFC Vegas card a little bit ago. And then now we see it opening up the main card here between Aaron Blanchfield and Talia Santos. And I believe this is a title eliminator fight here in the women's flyweight division. And this is a very high-level fight between two fighters who are primarily grapplers and are very young and very talented. I believe Talia won the fight against Valentina Shevchenko, and she should be the champion right now. And then for Aaron, she's been on an absolute tear lately. She's coming off finish wins over Jessica Andrade, Molly McCain, as well as being on a 5-fight win streak in the UFC. And but here she's fighting Talia Santos, which I believe is the best fighter Aaron Blanchfield has ever fought, and I believe it will be a good test to prove she really is who she says she is and deserves her spot at the top of the division. In the grappling side of this fight, I believe Aaron Blanchfield has the advantage. She does not wrestle as much as she probably should, but when she does, she is very accurate and very good at controlling people on the ground. And I do believe she will get some takedowns here against Talia, but I don't expect her to submit Talia. Talia is a very credible grappler. And then where I believe the majority of this fight will take place is in the striking, which is very competitive. I'm looking at the numbers, And we see Aaron's outlanding her opponents by almost 3 strikes a minute, while Talia is outlanding her opponents by 1 strike per minute. I also believe Talia Santos has 3 knockdowns in the UFC, so I would probably favor her power, but I don't think she is going to drop Aaron here. And I definitely don't think her stat of outlanding her opponents by 3 strikes per minute is going to continue here. I believe Talia could potentially be outlanding and winning the minutes here on the feet. As for her prediction, I'm having a hard time deciding it, but because I see this fight going to a very close decision, but the path that I think is most likely is that Aaron edges it out with mixing in some takedowns here, and she wins this fight via decision. We take a look at the odds, and we see Aaron, the minus 155 favorite, and Talia is plus 130. That's probably where it should be. There's probably a little bit of value on the Aaron side, but still some question marks need to be answered, so I'm not going to bet on it here. We see the fight goes to decision, prop saying at minus 2025. That's unplayable. The Aaron by sub saying plus 350. That's intriguing. I'm not going to play it. And decision prop for Aaron Blanchfield saying at plus 150. And on the Talia side, her decision prop saying at plus 180. Nothing really stands out to me. And I do think the money line is about right, but I'm not confident enough to bet Aaron here. But she could very well take her down, submit her, look very easy, but I don't think it happens. Next fight, we got Rinya Nakamura going against Fernie Garcia. And for this fight, the placement on the card tells you all you need to know. This is this guy's UFC debut, and he is the second fight on the main card. The UFC is very clearly trying to push Rinya very heavily. And me personally, I believe Rinya Nakamura is the real deal. He has very good wrestling credentials. I believe he was on the national team since a very young age, something like that. And he seems to have a lot of power and very good boxing on the feet. I believe he might be 26 years old. He seems to be a super athlete. He seems to just have it all, honestly. He has a lot of composure as well, which I like to see from a young fighter. And we see him fighting here, Fernie Garcia, who is 0-2 in the UFC, and I believe the UFC is just feeding him to him. What does make this prediction a little difficult is that Fernie has never been finished. But Rinya's better everywhere, and I think that changes here. We do have concern because we haven't really seen Rinya outside the first round, but I believe Rinya will knock him out here, and that he can win this fight any way he wants, probably. I expect him to be a massive favorite, so we're going to look at the odds, and the odds show him as a minus 100 favorite. The KO prop saying at minus 165, the sub props plus 350, and the decision props plus 400. The sub props intriguing. I'm not that big of a fan of the submission prop here, but the sub props intriguing. We see his line by finish at minus 300. That's intriguing for a possible parlay piece. The under 1.5 sitting at minus 180. I don't like that. The fight doesn't go to decision at minus 400. I'm not going to bet on that. Rinya round 1, minus 115. I think that is his most likely winning condition, but I'm not all that interested. Just a little bit too chalky for me. For a guy who we just see him beat up a bunch of wings, you know? And for another prop that's interesting, I was just checking the odds to see if it could potentially have some value. Rinya by round 1 or 2 is sitting at minus 280. Not interesting. But like I said, I'm gonna use the Rinya inside the distance minus 300 as a parlay piece. But I'm gonna tread lightly, only probably use it in a small parlay. Next up, we got a very intriguing fight between Giga Chikadze making his return here against Alex Caceres. This is a striker versus striker matchup where I don't see Giga having to worry much about grappling as he has had to worry about it in the past. And there's a lot to prove for Giga in this fight. He has to prove whether he is this legit striker he's touted to be. And personally, I'm not the biggest fan of him. People are talking about this guy, oh, he's going to win the championship, oh, he's going to fight for a belt. I don't see it. Maybe you do, but I don't. I just don't think he is that good. And now he's 35 years old. So I'm not all that optimistic that he is going to have this rapid growth everybody's looking for. I think he's could be on his way out. I know that's weird to say for someone that has such like a short MMA career, but I don't know. I might be just hating. I don't think the dude's on the up and up and about to go win a championship, but that's just me. As for how the striking is going to go in this matchup, I do favor Giga. Alex is funky and could possibly land and hurt Giga with like a high kick or something. Then possibly just like jump on his neck and find a sub. As I see his win condition is probably sub. But for the most part, I think this fight stays on the feet and is a pretty close striking fight that goes to decision. I don't think Giga knocks him out in this matchup. Alex has been knocked out once in his career, and it was in 2015. Alex is due for one, and it's on the table, but I don't think it happens. For a pick, I'm going with Giga to win the decision. I think he's just a little bit more technical than Alex in the striking, and I don't see Alex mixing it up, but it's possible. We look at the odds. Giga's a minus 245 favorite, and Alex is plus 200. That's a little wider than I thought, but it's right about where it should be. We see the fight doesn't go to decision, sitting at plus 130. That's bettable. I'm not going to personally. And then for the props, Giga decision, plus 100, unplayable. Giga by KO, plus 275, is interesting. I'm not going to bet it. And I'm just going to pass on this fight altogether. Nothing's really sticking out for me from like a total or a side or a prop perspective. Next up, we got the co-main event between Anthony Smith and Ryan Spann. And this is kind of funny to me that they're doing this rematch so soon. They must really want to see Anthony Smith get knocked out. It didn't happen the first time, but just giving him another chance to do it again, just shooting some dice here. And it's kind of ironic. The UFC always gets what they want, and what they want is Ryan Spann to flatline Anthony Smith. I'll be straight up. I truly believe Ryan Spann's going to go out there, get it done this time, and get it by knockout. He's just going in an opposite career path as Smith. I have no idea what Smith's doing, if he's training, commentating, what. I saw him compete in a grappling event, and I do believe Smith is game live to get a sub like he did in the last fight, but I just believe in Spann. For the unders on this fight, I would tread caution because I was burned in the Walker fight, but I think it happens here. The hype has kind of left Ryan Spann. Like, we saw Ryan Spann knock out Dominic Reyes, and all of a sudden people are like, Ryan Spann, future champion, and he goes out there and gets submitted by Nikita Krylov, and everyone's like, oh, Ryan Spann's Ryan Spann again. Like, just kind of weird. I'm still on the Ryan Spann train. So, I'm going to pick him to win this fight. And I'm going to pick him to win this fight by knockout. We take a look at the odds, and we see Ryan Spann as the minus 125 favorite, and Smith as a plus 100 dog. That's closer than I was expecting, but definitely bettable. We see Spann by KO sitting at plus 175, and Spann by sub sitting at plus 330. I do like that KO line a little bit. I was hoping the sub line to be a bit more juicy to play it. I'm not going to play that line. On the Smith side, the KO prop sitting at plus 330. The sub prop sitting at plus 380. I think the sub is the way he wins this fight, but I just don't think he does it again. Spann inside the distance, minus 110. That's unplayable, giving his money line sitting minus 125. Might as well bet the money line, get that equity in. Spann round 1, plus 165. And then, like, just for an unders, just as a head up, like, we look at the stats here, and in all of Spann's last 6 fights, they've all ended in the first round. And 3 of 5 of Anthony Smith's last fights ended in the first round. Like, just to look at some more under props, the fight doesn't start round 2 sitting at minus 135. Yeah, round 2. Fight ends round 2. Round 1 is sitting minus 135. Like, that's crazy. Completely unplayable. Spann KO, plus 175. I've decided to have a half unit on it. We see another prop, Spann round 1 or 2. That's at plus 100. I'm not playing that. So, the unders are just not bettable for me here at these prices. But I will have that half unit on Spann by KO. Now we got the main event of the evening. Max Holloway going against the Korean zombie Chan Sung Jung. And this fight is obviously Korean Zombie's retirement fight here in Singapore. And for a matchup, this is a terrible matchup for him. I'd rather him be fighting, I don't know, someone he can beat. Maybe if he was in his prime, he could have a chance here, but his only win conditions is, like, for Max to slip on a Dana and, like, him to snatch up a sub somehow. And hopefully he keeps it close as a fan and as just, like, a supporter of him and what he's done for the sport. And as for a prediction, I believe Max will just put it on him, kind of like what Volk did, and just brutalize him and get a later round TKO. We'll get the odds, and we see minus 700 for Holloway, plus 500 for the Korean Zombie. And the line has come down some from the minus 800, which is a little odd to me, since I expected it to continue to grow throughout the week as people parlayed Holloway up. So I looked at the weigh-ins real quick, and I see, like, everything looks fine. Like, nothing seems weird to me. I haven't seen any, like, injury concerns with anybody or anything like that. I believe Holloway is quite motivated here. Like, you saw him think about the Kawhi and stuff. I think that's good for him in his fighting, is to be motivated. But there's a prop here that stands out a lot. Holloway by KO, saying minus 120. I like that a lot. I'm going to put 1 unit on it. And then, as for the overs, we see, I don't think any of them are playable. Like, they're way chalk to go over. Decision line saying at plus 150. That's also playable, but I don't believe Zombie makes it that long. And then, for the fight to doesn't go to decision, it's saying at minus 150. That's playable if you're into that, but I'm not. I believe Holloway's going to get him out of here, and Korean Zombie's only win condition is to get a finish. Good luck this fight week, guys. Remember, it's a 5 a.m. card, and I personally will be getting up for it. So, we look at this fight. Sung Woo Choi, Jaron Anderns. I'm a fan of Sung Woo Choi. I want to see him fight Na Leong. This might be the last time we see Na Leong fight the Terrence McKinney of the women's divisions. So, want to wake up to see that. This fight, absolute banger. Absolute straight bangers. Want to see this fight. Want to see Chitty fight. So, I'll be up that early. And we'll be back this Tuesday for Contender Series content if you want more content. Have a good night.